Hello friends, welcome back. Welcome to my newest video. I'm Kristen Ray, writer of a fantasy novel to come. Today I'm thinking just about the power of words and how as humans we can use them so effectively. They can be balm to our soul, or they can be weapons that pierce us. There's one book in particular that I have read over and over at different times, particularly when editing. I'll just read through it and kind of refresh my mind about how using words and different rhetorical devices can just pack such a powerful punch when we're writing. Tim O'Brien, The Things They Carried. This is a book about a guy that goes to Vietnam. It is a work of fiction. However, as we all know, through fiction, so many truths, so many big ideas that we encounter and discover in life can come through fiction. This is a book that I'm sharing with you because I'm guessing you're a writer, and if you're a writer, whether you write fantasy, whether you write nonfiction, it doesn't matter what genre you write. This book has so many good examples of how the written language can be utilized. Tim O'Brien understands the power that words wield, and he uses that understanding to beautifully demonstrate some of the big truths that he's encountered in his life. In this story, he is talking about how war changes people. But anyways, I'm gonna share some of my thoughts on this book, because if you're a writer and there was one book that I could recommend to you, I really think it would be this book. Is that crazy? It might be crazy. I have a lot of books, but this is one that I think every writer should read. But I also just think everybody should read this book. It's just so good. There were two specific things that I took away from reading his story that I felt like changed the way that I wrote. One was just tell the story. I can think so many times of reading books and it's like, she was absolutely devastated and she didn't want to move on. Her heart was breaking and she laid on her bed crying because, she didn't ever think that her life would be right again. That's a horrible example, but you get the point, right? Instead of telling you all of those things, you just tell what happened. So instead of saying what she was thinking and feeling, you just tell your reader what happened. And maybe this is like super duh type stuff, and you're like, I don't need to tune into this story or to this video to learn this. If that's the case, fine. But for me, this was like a dawning of just tell the story, tell what happened, and trust your reader to infer what they need to about it. So he tells the story. So I don't think I'm gonna read an excerpt because I don't know. It's a long excerpt, but I will set up this story for you. These two guys, they are in Vietnam. This is what this story is. Stories from men who were in Vietnam. And it's this guy, and they're moving through the jungle. They're throwing a ball. They're playing catch back and forth, kind of chilling out. And a dude steps on a booby-trapped 105 round and gets blown into the sky. 1 minute he's laughing and playing catch with his best bud, and then the next he's dead. So his best bud, Cat Riley, is the guy's name. Later that evening, they find a baby water buffalo roaming around. They have no clue where it's come from, but they catch it and they put a rope around its neck and they lead it to the village. And Cat Riley is opening up a can of beans. They're all sitting around a campfire. He pets the water buffalo, offers it food, and it doesn't eat it. And then he proceeds to shoot and kill this baby water buffalo. He does it in a random yet strangely methodical fashion, and all the other dudes are sitting around feeling lots of things but saying nothing, and none of them feeling sorry for the baby water buffalo. And then Cat Riley is crying, and he continues to just destroy this animal. And then he stands up and he walks off, and they're all sitting there saying nothing. And then one guy says, I've never seen anything like it. He just told the story. He didn't say, he's devastated and his heart feels like it's breaking because his best friend in the whole world, like, he's not telling you what this guy is feeling. He just tells you what this guy does. An act like this in the civilian world would be a precursor to psychopathy and like serial killing. In this instance, the reader's heart breaks for this boy because he's being changed by the unbiased monster that war can be. He's doing things he would have never done otherwise. And he's becoming someone that only the war could turn him into. His buddies do nothing but sit there and watch. And eventually, one of them kicks the water buffalo that's just been utterly destroyed. Who would do that? A cruel person? Or boys suffering the cruelty of war and needing to take their pain out on something other than another human being? Don't think that I'm sitting here promoting animal violence. I'm not. So after reading that, I just thought, just tell the story and trust that your reader is gonna get it. Don't over tell, don't tell. Show what's happening, show what he does, and let the reader infer from there. I hate when I'm reading something and there's such a phenomenal job of showing me, and then it follows up by saying, because her heart was breaking, because, he was angry. And I'm like, no, you didn't have to add that last part on, because I got it. I got that he was angry, and I understood that his actions, were not about, he wasn't angry because there was a chip of paint on the wall. The second thing I learned was the effectiveness of rhetorical devices. Like, we learned about onomatopoeia in elementary, and we learned about it for a reason. Like, you see it in kids' books all the times, but we don't always stop to think. As adults, we're just consuming. I don't feel like we always stop to think, like, why does this work? But it's these different things, maybe not onomatopoeia, but maybe sometimes onomatopoeia does work. That whole paragraph, he's using like short, punchy sentences that kind of, it serves to make it real like action-packed and fast, like you're in the action. There's not a lot of time to think. It evokes emotion. He does such a phenomenal job. And in that whole paragraph, it's part of the tools he's using to get you there, to make you feel like you're witnessing this. This guy says, amazing, Dave Jensen kept saying, a new wrinkle. I'd never seen it before. Mitch Sanders took out his yo-yo. Well, that's Nam, he said. Garden of Evil. Over here, man. Every sin's real fresh and original. He's using a biblical allusion in that excerpt. There's nothing new under the sun. There isn't any new inventions of sin. It's been around since the dawn of age. Evil is here, and it will be here until the end of time, until the Lord comes back and whatever. Lots of people have heard of the Garden of Eden, of Adam and Eve, the original sin, right? They lived in a garden, they lived in harmony, all was well and good. It was not just them, it was other creatures alike. They're hanging out with lions and bears and tigers, not oh my, they were probably petting them and snuggling up on them. That was probably their bed. That's what was happening before sin entered the world. Then they sinned, and they secured a sin nature for all humans after that. O'Brien remembers that story as he's telling the story of the water buffalo, when the guy says, "A new wrinkle, I never seen anything like it." Perhaps one had to be in Vietnam to understand the accuracy of such an illusion, but O'Brien leaves the reader with an idea of what the opposite of paradise might be like, a jungle of evil where everything is new under the sun, where each horrific deed shocks and reviles to behold, where boys lose not just their innocence, but, if not permanently, for a time, their mind. War changes them. And he does a phenomenal job of showing that in that small excerpt. This is what he says about story. In a true war story, if there's a moral at all, it's like the thread that makes the cloth. You can't tease it out. You can't extract the meaning without unraveling the deeper meaning. And in the end, really, there's nothing much to say about a true war story except maybe, oh. True war stories do not generalize. They do not indulge in abstraction or analysis. For example, war is hell. As a moral declaration, the old truism seems perfectly true, and yet because it's abstract, because it generalizes, I can't believe it with my stomach. Nothing turns inside. It comes down to gut instinct. A true war story, if truly told, makes the stomach believe. And then that's when he goes on to tell you the story of Cat Riley destroying the water buffalo, right? You can't just say war is hell. You have to tell the story using all these different rhetorical devices in order to convince the reader that, like, to believe what you're writing. All one really needs to do, I mean, I can tell you all day, hopefully I've convinced you to read it, but I can tell you all day. All you really need to do is go pick it up. The words and devices he meticulously arranges are completely effective. Or go download that free PDF online. It's hard not to wonder how human interaction would differ if we were all so gifted in our abilities to use words. The way that he shows you that war changes people is terribly beautiful. Anyways, Tim O'Brien, one of my favorites. Real quick, I'm gonna be starting drafting here super soon, and so I'm gonna bring y'all along. My plotting is done, and so I'm ready to start drafting. So I don't know if next video would be an update, but I might be drafting and bringing y'all along with me when I start drafting in the next video. So if you enjoyed this video, like and subscribe. I'll see you next week.